Let's go. We have Austin, Todd, Ed, Isaac, Jameson, Juliet, and Troy. Let's go. I actually think thank you guys for showing up. This is our largest class I think we've ever had. Like, what's up, man? Heck yes. And so thank you guys for showing up. And so today we're actually going to be learning something about what I think is probably one of the coolest things in software development ever. And that is something called APIs. Okay, so has anyone here ever heard of an API? Let's go, everyone. Todd. Okay, heck yes. All right, so that's cool that you guys know what an API is. All right, in this class, we are going to go through a process of setting up an API, but also sending an API. Okay, so not only are we going to be like, if we're in baseball, right, we're the person throwing the ball, right? That means like we're the person sending out data. Okay, that's the second part. We're also going to receive the data like a catcher, but we're also going to be the person sending out the data. Okay, so if you guys think about what that is, a lot of software, right? Like right now, every single one of us, I'm going to say 90% of us, who here has an OpenAI account and uses their API? Okay, all of us. Have you guys ever heard of an API before that? Before OpenAI? Some people. All right, that's what's up. Heck yeah. Okay. So
my crypto tax people make me send them APIs.
Okay, that's what's up. That's cool. Yeah. So here's this is an API is how the internet behind the scenes talks to each other, how software talks to each other. Okay. And once you guys figure out that of the sending and the receiving of data, you can build any software on top of that. All right, most software on the internet, I would say most software on the internet are something called a wrapper. All right, a wrapper is the ability to call another software and then return the data, and you don't have to figure out the hard functionality. Like you can just plug into an API, right? You're a wrapper around an API, okay? And so today I have a little slideshow that basically like I put together a little while ago inside my 4-day like AI software masterclass. And it kind of covers what we need. I wonder if I could turn this off. All right, that's interesting. I can see your guys' face. How cute. All right, so basically it covers what we actually need in here about APIs. All right, so present full screen. Let's go. Cool. All right, so this is part of the 4-day workshop, build your own AI software. This was the day 2. We talked about logins and saving your data and all that stuff. And then what we're going to talk about today, just like we were talking about this, is connecting your first API. Okay. One of the companies that I actually follow and I love watching. All right. If you guys go on Twitter, right, X, there's a company called Jenny.ai. Who is Jenny AI? Okay. For marketing purposes, I highly recommend you guys follow this company, okay? Because this company is absolutely phenomenal at creating marketing material that just goes insanely viral, but not just insanely viral for just because it's cool to go viral. These guys go insanely viral for their AI software in particular. And here's the thing is, this is kind of like what I was trying to create when I hired someone, my brother, to come down, and essentially I need someone to be able to create the ability to create like videos for me, right? So we need to have videos, and inside those videos, we need to have like the ability to have essentially like I'm using the style that this company's doing. I'm following how they're creating their videos because an AI is inherently magic. Essentially, these guys pop on and say, hey, I have this problem. And oh my God, like, right, this guy says point of view. He's brushing his teeth and he forgot about his essay at 12 o'clock. He's like, oh no, it's due. And then he whips out AI and then magic, boom, instantly his essay is due, right? So the power is somebody else created a fantastic ability for us to be able to get software, like to get this knowledge, right? So where do we get the AI? Right? Look, this guy's a little plugging in, right? Like we have an AI dealer, all right? And that's what an API comes in. So if you ever need to add functionality to your software and you don't know how, or it's something that might be a little bit more technical, or something that doesn't just come inside Bubble. It's not just like a cute add text onto the page. You might need to add an API which does way more behind the scenes, right? Because there's two parts, right? You see how this guy's plugging in? He's kind of, you can kind of visually see, but he's plugging into this, it's like this black box. It's almost like we don't know kind of sometimes what's going on behind the scenes in the code. Well, that's what an API in it is. Sometimes we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. So during this, we're going to be getting the data from the AI, and then next, we're going to be passing that data out from our software behind the scenes into the front end of our software. Okay, so now we can be an API. Okay, we can be an API. All right, so let's go. All right, so we have API here. I'm going to make it where anybody can join this call. Let's see. How do we do this? All right, bam. Amit, Joey. Here we go. I'm going to make, I wonder if I could add as co-host. Hey, Julia, I added you as co-host just in case anybody joins, if you mind helping me.
Sure.
Thank you so much. All right, so, we present. Cool. So APIs. So my two sources that I first started with an API, if you guys want to write these down, these are fantastic resources for an API. All right. The very first one that I use is more open source. Okay. So that means anybody could publish an API onto this website called replicate.com. Okay. If you ever need image models, if you ever need, I add my website scraper text on here. If you ever need, like, there's a lot of models, not just text models, not just image models, but there's a lot of APIs that you could connect your software into. Okay, so literally I like to go through Replicate sometimes when I'm bored and just go through every single one of their pages to see all the models that I could potentially connect. If you guys are using my AI team and you guys ever used the stem splitter, the stem splitter was, all I did was go to replicate.com. I typed in stem splitter, and there was an API endpoint that I could connect into that Facebook open sourced, right? Facebook basically gave away the code for free, and I'm able to pay pennies for every time somebody splits a stem. And now that could be a software within itself. I built it into my AI team. However, you could literally take that one idea of splitting stems and turn that into a software. That's it. Nothing else. Okay. And so that could be so think about as API, it could be your software could be a group of all of these tools and APIs connected, or it literally could be a single API request and you get it from Replicate or you get it from OpenAI. The next one I use is OpenAI. My AI team, basically the AI they're my AI dealer, right? There was the original ones that I got it from is OpenAI. Now I use Claude for coding, and soon I'm going to add OpenAI back into the coding area, mainly because I see that they're going to be upgrading the new models, and I definitely want to be making sure we have those in the coding area. Okay, so what can an API do? All right, there's something called a post request, which is just the basic, which sends the input and they give you an output, right? Like you send a text message, and then automatically it returns an instant response, right? Like that's what an API is. Super simple. Like you send a little form, a user fills out, I want to make a blog about this. And the AI, you take that information and say, hey, this guy wants to make a blog about this. And then you return that data, all right? And then he writes it, and then you say, hey, here's the blog about that. And then you return it on the user interface, okay? The next part is a GET request, all right? So sometimes you have to get data from another site, all right? If you need to have a dashboard for all your customers, or if you need to have an admin dashboard and you want to get all your users from your database, you could do that, and then you can display it, right? A post is an action, right? A GET is more of a, hey, I need the data. Give me the data, right? Let me get that data, right? A post, hey, post in it, send it, all right? So here we go. We got needed tools. We have our Bubble account and our OpenAI account. And then we're also going to use my AI team today. Any questions before we get started on APIs today? Digging in. Got some no's? Heck yeah. Are you guys excited to learn some APIs? Woohoo!
Excited, yes.
All right, cool. All right, so this is going to give you guys the ability not only to do APIs, but like I said, create your own APIs in the future, okay? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to dive back into our Bubble project that we actually had the other day. And this one's called Chat with Jeff, right? And here we go. So they have our little trial thing. Nice. If you guys build your software, right? The reason I'm going to pause right here is when you guys are building your software, you might remind your users every time they log back in, if they're on a free trial or something along those lines, to upgrade. I think this is fantastic, right? Like literally they pop in a popover and they literally say, hey, like you could upgrade and I could purchase this right now. All right. So when you guys are building your software as a marketer, these are the things that you guys need to look on, because it's crazy is software and marketing. It's literally like the same. It's crazy. It is. You almost need to be the same person, right? And that's why as I'm talking to you guys, you should be a founder at all times, because a founder is the person that says, how do I make sure this sells when I'm building it also? All right. So as you guys go through the software, that's why I'm teaching you guys how to market it and how to hopefully promote your software at the same time as we're showing you how to sell it, at the same time as we're showing you how to build it, because it is all interconnected. It all is interconnected. Your customer, you see how it's $32 a month? Your customer might come, like Juliet and Joey, they talk to schools on a regular basis. They might not be charging them $32 a month. They might be charging them $32,000 a year for an entire enterprise suite for their software, because now they have a school tracking system for all their classes. And that's what you guys build, right? So whatever it is, this is one of those things that you guys can build into it and think of how you want your sales process to go also. All right. So here we go. On the left-hand side, we have our plugins inside Bubble. And this is your ability to have outside apps and functions. All right. So if we go into add plugin, you can actually over time create plugins for Bubble. Okay. And then you could sell plugins on Bubble. All right. So you can not only build them, but you could search them of other people that already built them. Okay. I built a couple and I used AI the entire time to walk me through how to do it. Okay. So if you ever get to that point where you're like, dude, I want to build one of these things because I can't find what I'm looking for on this, right? There's thousands of softwares on this thing, right? There's thousands of little like plugins. All right. The one that we're going to be looking for is the one right at the top. And it says API connector. All right. You're going to make sure to install that. And from here, we're going to say, it says add another API. All right. And if you guys have never seen this, this is so exciting, because once you guys understand APIs, like I said, you guys could connect to any software that has, anytime you see API docs on a website, you should get really excited. You should be like, ooh, API, like I could connect this whole software into my software. And that should spark, it's almost like they give you a Legos that you could build anything in the world with. It's like, okay, well, what can I build this with? And it's up to your imagination to say, I could build this with it. I could build this with it. I could build this with it. And if you feel like you're limited, well, there's another API out there, right? You could find another one. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. You see right here, one step at a time, we're gonna read this. This says API name. We're just gonna come in here. This could be a name for us. This is an internal name for us to use. And I'm just literally gonna say open AI. Mainly because I'm going to name this for the whole entire thing. Okay. Then it says authentication. It says none, self-handled. I'm literally going to leave that alone. Then it says shared header for all calls. Here's what's really cool. You guys see how there's these little other calls, like right down here, it says name, and then there's another call. Think of this. We're kind of setting up a group. Okay. So that's all we're doing. We name this group, and this is like a group of calls. The next one is we're going to expand this. Now we're actually going to set up our very first call. Okay. So if we go into OpenAI, in here, you could sign up and you could get your API key and all that stuff in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go onto API references. All right. API references. And this gives us the ability to come over here and you can see what says endpoints. All right. Endpoints are basically that API. Like, what do we want to do? Right. So over here, it says audio. This one says create speech. So think about now in our software, the very first one that we come into OpenAI, we're able to create a speech. And it says, learn how to turn audio into text or text into audio.
Is that what you're using in my AI team for the text to audio? Or the audio to text, I mean?
I was actually using another one called like Duck, Uber Duck. Yeah, Uber Duck. However, this one, like they came out with this one like after I basically added that speech to text thing. So this model, it's actually probably way better than the current ones in there. And so I mean, it's yeah, I mean, definitely, you know.
Because I love that feature. So I want to build that into something.
Absolutely beautiful, right? Like, okay, so well, here's a great example because we'll just set up how to set up this exact speech one. Okay. So here's this speech where it says, you see how it says this post? This is the URL that it's sending that data to. All right. So it's literally going to send data to this, but what does it mean data? Well, here's what it means. All of this request body is the data. All right. So this is all of the information that basically the AI needs. And then right here, it says it returns the audio file content. Okay, so it says if we return this, if we send in this information, we need the model, we need the input, we need the voice. If you give me that stuff, I will give you the text, the audio that it returns. All right, so here's what we do. Inside here, this is why I love Bubble. If we need, we could come through and like set all this up and like copy and paste all of this into this little get call and all this stuff. However, that takes a long time, okay? There's something in here called a curl command. Okay, so you guys see right here, it says curl. Right here, there's Python, there's Node, but there's curl. Okay, anytime you see a curl command, this means it could be imported really easy into somewhere that could accept a curl command. So I'm going to hit copy right here, and I'm going to go back into Bubble, and I'm going to scroll down, and there's this little text inside Bubble. It's like a little like line. It says import call from curl. Kind of hard to see, but it's right here on the left-hand side. You're going to click it, and then it just has a paste field. And you're going to paste Command V, the call from Bubble. I mean, from OpenAI. Okay? All right, so here we go. So you see how it just imported our entire call right here. So this is the one before. This is, I could just collapse this one. And then this is our call. And I can name this, right? So I'm just going to say, text to speech. All right. And then right here, if we read in line with this, right, left to right, so we don't get overwhelmed. If we try to look at all of this, sometimes it could be overwhelming, right? Left to right. It says name, and then we fill out text to speech. The next thing it says use as data. If we want to get data and display data on our page, cool, we could do that. However, we want to use as an action because when somebody clicks something, we want to do something. Okay, so we're going to say action. Data type is JSON. And then it puts our content in, right? So it says post, and then it has our URL that we're going to post to. Okay, then it says authorization, and it says bearer. Okay, that's our bearer token. So that means that is our API key that we need to be able to send data to this. Okay, so in order for us to send data, this says $ open API key. I love that they put the $ because that's how they charge you, right? Like that's how they charge you. All right, so inside OpenAI, you'll grab your API key. Okay, I'm gonna grab mine real fast, right? And a little test key that I set up. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna paste our key here. Okay, if we want to pass our user key through this, you see how it says private? this means we could hide it. But if we want it to be dynamic, we could leave it unchecked. So now we could change this in the future, and we can pass the user's API key in by passing in, leaving this private or public. Okay. So if you want to,
so you're saying that if you click private, then it locks it. It always runs through you. If it's unchecked, then they can put their API key in, which then they're paying.
it gives us the option to make it a variable. Yes. Okay.
Yep.
All right. And here's what I mean by a variable. So you guys see how down here, if we scroll down a little bit, it says body, and then it says our JSON body object. And then it says use these two little alligators kissing each other or fighting each other for dynamic values. Okay. So here's what this means. All right. If we want dynamic, if we want to pass in this data, like if we want our user to be able to say anything and get back the results. Okay. Like, because we're setting up the text to speech, watch what we can do. You see how it says input, and it says the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to use the little brackets. Okay. And in here, here's what I'm going to do outside. All right. Here, I'm going to back up a couple seconds. All right. So we have this little thing, but I'm going to actually use the quotes. Okay. So you see where it's the quotes on this, I'm going to grab the quotes. Why are we going to grab the quotes? Because anytime you have a user sending text data, you see how it has these quotes? Inside Bubble, there's something called format as JSON safe. We want to protect our call, otherwise it will break. Okay, so I'm going to show you what that means in a little bit, okay? So inside here, we're going to highlight this whole little text right here with the little quotes, and I'm going to do those alligators. And I'm just going to I'm going to say input text. All right, I can name this variable, right? When I name variable, you see how it says the key down here now? If I click off of this, now I have the input variable, so it says the key. All right, so this means anything that's in the value right here is going to get passed in right here, and I could hit private, and so now the user could pass in something. So I'm going to say Troy is awesome. All right, and I'm going to put these quotes around it, okay? And then I'm going to hit initialize call. And now watch this. All right, this says the API returns a non-object. You pick JSON. All right, cool. What does that mean? Okay, well, I'm going to hit got it. And I'm going to scroll down. And you know how we said data type? We said JSON. Well, this actually returns, if I go into our API references, this actually returns audio file content. Okay. Sometimes you do got to read the documents, right? Which happens, right? This is just, so I'm going to say file, okay? So data type file as a returned. All right, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to initialize the content again, and watch what happens, right? Now we have a preview button. Well, if I hit preview, it actually pops up to a new link. Oh, look, it said Troy's awesome. Yeah. All right. Super cool.
I couldn't hear it, but you're saying it worked.
All right, it does. Yes, it does work. Bummer. How do I make it where you guys can hear? I want you guys to be able to hear. I think it's because I don't have my share just this tab.
Oh, that's all right.
All right. So share just this one. All right. Boom. Ready?
Troy is awesome.
Heard it that time. All right.
Troy is awesome.
Play it again. Yeah, keep going. No,
Troy is awesome.
Troy's awesome.
All right. So we just called that API and we got that data, and you could see how we actually could input our own data. Okay. So just by making that one call. Okay. So now if we actually want to, let me drag this. Okay, so now if we go into OpenAI, you can see that there is a lot more requests. You can see that the next one that we have, it says transcript. Create a transcription. So now all of a sudden we could take audio and we could turn it into text. Okay? So if you guys are seeing right here, think about this. Imagine you guys could now send in voice, because this creates a transcription. So it takes an audio and it turns it into text. The other one takes text and turns it into audio. You could now have something that talks back and forth with you. Like just with these two API endpoints, we haven't even dove into any of the other ones. Just with the two API endpoints that we have right here, you can make something that you could talk to and it could respond back to you with. Okay. Now we could scroll down and literally we could scroll down to here. So this is just kind of create translation, right? This is a translation. So if we ever want to translates audio into English, that's pretty cool. If we ever have a different language and we want to put it in English, we could pull this data into here. All right. We could scroll down and we have chat. All right. Well, chat completion is one of my absolute favorite stuff to do. All right. So now all of a sudden we can actually communicate with a brain inside AI. And this is the API endpoint to do that. Okay. So this is chat completions where you're actually able to chat with this. However, there's also one called the API assistance. Okay. And this gives us the ability to use our assistants to chat with one of those. Okay, so this is a little bit more in depth to talk to and get up the chat assistant. All right, because here's the thing is you got to create a thread and then we also have to pass in the messages. All right, so there's a couple things that we actually need to do that is a little bit more in depth with creating the assistants. All right, so that's kind of one of those things where it's, when I just set up a software recently for a client, the software I set up, I ended up having to connect 24 API endpoints into a software called ChatBridge. Okay, ChatBridge. 24 API endpoints into this thing. All right, it was wild. All right, absolutely wild on this. Okay, so it's a lot of work to set up a lot of all this data, all right, to make it where this thing chats back and forth and all of this. Well, you guys just saw how I just set it up inside Bubble. Okay, we just set it up inside Bubble. Well, now watch this. This is the direction of AI coding that I feel like is going to give us the power over a lot of other people while leveraging Bubble. All right, so we just set this call up, and we have this header. Okay, so let's see. So we have our text to speech. Let me refresh this. I don't see my header. All right. I want to make it where the user can actually pass in their own API key. Okay. And here's why. Is when we have the user pass in their API key, we can now reference that on the front end of our software. All right. So let me test this again. Make sure our call works. Oh, our header is undefined. Okay. Let's try this again. Let me do this. Looks like it didn't save for some reason. All right. Let's go back to audio. And I'm going to grab this curl command again. And I'm just going to set this up another curl because I need this header. And all right, we have our authorization.
Isn't there a back button? Couldn't you have just gone to the back?
Yeah, it didn't seem to save this data for some reason. Let's try that again. There you go. It just didn't seem to save that header, but there, now we have it. All right, cool. All right, so it made that call. I could delete this other one. All right, well, now we want to pass in this data where we could have it as a dynamic value. So based off of our dashboard that we were creating last week, right? Now we actually have it where it says, hello, current user. And then right here, you see how it says OpenAI chat? And then we could have our actual like information back here. Okay, so if we go into my AI team, the one that we were working with yesterday, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to AI snippets, and we are actually going to connect the front end back to the back end. Okay, so this is our chat. I think I turned it into a Python coder. Okay, cool. Nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit view code, and I'm going to copy this code here. Let's see, 1 second. So before I copy this code, inside Bubble, we want to make it where this user could actually save their API key to the database. All right, but we're not using traditional Bubble where we're going to be having it where they actually have it where they submit it right here on this form. Okay, we actually want to make it where it sends the data behind the scenes into the workflows. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into the back end. Okay, so if you see right now, if I go into this little drop down up here where it says page, there's no back end APIs. Okay, so I need to go into settings, and then I need to go into, let's see where they put it, into APIs. Let's check. And then right here into APIs, it says, all right, this feature, to test this feature for free, then upgrade to starter deploy. All right, cool. So I need to be on the starter plan to at least test this. Okay. Let's see. Enable workflows. Maybe their things off. Let me check this. All right. Okay, I think they're just little user things off. Okay, cool. So essentially you need to come back into here and into the back end, you need to make it where there's enable workflow API and back end workflows. Okay. So that's what essentially you want to do. All right. There's a little checkbox. It seems there are little checkboxes were off. All right. And if I go into dashboard now, or in this little startup up here, or this little drop down, you can see it says back end workflows. All right. Now we're in the back end of our software. This is essentially, what does that mean? That means we have an API access. So if I click this, you see how it says new API workflow? Well, I could connect to this and I could click new API workflow and I could say workflow name. And I could say save API key. Okay, save API key. API key. All right. And it says expose as a public workflow, okay, because I want to be able to send it as this. And then just for testing purposes, it says this workflow can be run without authentication. We're just going to click this for now. And then ignore privacy rules when running this workflow. We're going to click this also now, for now. Okay. So inside here, we have our parameter definitions where it says manual definition. And then it says detect request data. All right, here's what's really cool. Bubble, if we have this detect data, well, guess what? We have this essentially, it's detecting data. If we copy this link, we can now send data to this link. All right, so I'm gonna say in here, when a user saves their API key, send that data to this URL. All right. And also, I'm going to say pass in the user ID. All right. Because here's the thing is inside Bubble, we're able to pass in that also. So we're going to adjust the code on where they're going to send. All right. So I'm going to hit generate. Oh, I didn't add the URL. Okay. Soon. Well, we're going to watch this generate, and then we're going to go back. So. And then we're going to connect. Okay, so right now, this is our database. If we wanted, we could essentially, where it says manual definition, we could add new parameters, and we could tell it what we want to accept. All right, so we could say API key, and we could say all of this stuff. However, we want it to almost trigger and send it our data ourselves, okay? So I'm going to hit this little initialize, and then we have this, go back in history, boom, and I'm going to add my URL, paste. And I'm going to hit generate. Here's what it's going to do. I might have to open this in a secure tab so it doesn't have my saved API key. So pretty much when I build software now, a lot of times I'm building things, anything that I need secured in the back end, I'm building it in Bubble, because a lot of times I don't want people to see my API keys. I don't want that exposed, anything like that. So anything that you need secured, called, you put it in Bubble, and now you could call it on the front end. All right. So if I go to view code, we're going to be able to see inside of our code here. All right. Inside of our code here. Over time, you kind of learn to like read code. It's kind of cool. All right. So it basically says, here's our little thing, and it's passing in 2 data points. Here's our function, and it says save API to server. It's our API key and our user ID. All right. So let's actually test this. I'm going to open it in a little test window. Bam. And we could have our open API key here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type it in anything, and I'm going to hit save. And you see how it says error saving key to server? That's all right, because we're going to come into Bubble. It just didn't get a response. Oh, let's see. Why didn't that work? Hey, you make it work. Oh, probably because the user ID wasn't passed in. So let's go to view code, and let's see. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it. I'm going to say, make it super easy for me to see where in the code to pass in the user ID and a user ID. Okay. User ID. Perfect. Give me notes. All right. So this is just like the AI talking to me behind the scenes. So if you ever get an error, you could do this. Sometimes if you know what you think you know what the error is, like right now, I think I know what the error is. I believe it's having an error because it's not getting the user ID passed, which could be, it's like a requirement, right? So it could be, that could be the issue. A lot of times you could come over here and you could ask the AI and you could go through and ask those questions. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my page over here. Instantly it updates. Let's see, it didn't pass in my API key. API request failed because why isn't it hiding? Give me the option to update API key after saved. Make sure it's hidden like a password. All right. So we'll get this going, and then I'll hit detect data because this is the thing to catch it. Any second. It's interesting how, like, this is no joke. A lot of times this is my coding. I'm sitting here watching this little thing spin. Should have some elevator wake music or something. Yeah.
That would be cool.
Update key.
A music visualizer.
Oh, that'd be right. That'd be, oh man, what? All right, cool. Error saving key. Let's see if it sent it. Why is it? Okay. Because we actually haven't updated the code again. All right. So if we scroll into here, let's see if it gave us that note. All right. So it says generate user ID, open AI key, send message. Let's see. Key programmer, user ID here. All right. So it's passing in our user ID. And I'm just going to type in 1, 2, 3. All right. Let's couple of that. Let's see if this works. Error saving. Why are you not working? Let's try it again. All right. So when the user saves or updates, it states their API key, send the data to this URL. Okay. Make sure it works. Make sure it works. No, man. Why you no work?
It wouldn't have to do with it being incognito, right? I mean, that's actually what we wanted in because we're testing it, right?
Yeah. We shall.
Jeff, what you could have it do is you could have it tell the AI to leave comments, and it'll comment out where to put things too. Oh, we froze Jeff.
Yeah.
We lost Jeff.
We broke Jeff. We lost Jeff. He's gonna be up in space till February.
Let's hope not.
We're back, baby.
Bam.
All right. Yeah. All right, here we go. So, see it updated.
You're gonna have to share your screen.
All right.
We thought maybe you were in Brazil and you just got blocked out.
All right, here we go. All right, so update API key. Let's try this, see if this works. Save key successful with an error. Canceled. All right, oh, we gotta go back to bubble. All right, detect data. All right, try it again. Please work in front of my friends. Error saving. Why is this not working?
Well, when you went back, it said activate with trial. Do you still need to do that trial or upgrade?
Yeah, I think you need to do upgrades to be able to use your to use the backend workflows.
Yeah, because it asked you to upgrade. See, it says upgrade to deploy in the top right as well.
All right.
So I'm seeing the blue button, so maybe you have to upgrade.
All right, we'll run it. Let's try it.
See if that's it.
All right. Moment of truth. Do they want the money?
Bam!
They just want the money.
They just want your money.
That's all they wanted was your money.
Wow, marketing. All right, look at that. So marketing level 10,000. All right. If you want to give access to the upgraded feature, you got to get the money. Okay. All right. So good. So good. All right. Look at that. Okay. So look at that. We just caught the data from our front end. All right. After the money. So good. All right. So I love it. So now we can save. So here's what, so if we go to raw data, well, check this out. This passes our user ID in. All right. And it passes in our API key. Okay. So this is the 2 data points that we need. Well, now if we hit save, I can now do stuff with that. So basically this says whenever this gets data, it does something. That's where we're at right now in Bubble. Okay. So now I'm going to click here to add action. What do you want to do? All right. Do you want to send an email? Do you want to do what? What do you want to do with this? All right. So here's what I want to do. Inside this, I just simply want to update the user's API key. If they send me in that API key, I want to update it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into the database. And as of right now in our app data, we have no, you can see right now, we have no essentially API key, okay, like in our data type, okay? So we're going to go to the user data type, and I'm going to say add new field, and I'm going to say field type, and I'm going to say API key, okay? Type is going to be text, and I'm just going to hit create. Simple. So now if we go back into our app data, you can see now I have a blank space that says API key. Super simple. Okay. So if you guys see right now, if I talk to this, so hello, right? You can see there was an error processing the request. All right. It's not actually calling, just like a few minutes ago. Remember, it was like talking to me like on the last video, we were coding. Well, right now, the reason why there's an error request is probably because I updated my API key to 123, right? It's not actually my proper API key. So how do we fix that? So if I go into chat and I go into our backend workflows, we want to actually save my API key. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do account, and I'm going to say, or I'm actually going to go to data, and I'm going to say make changes to a thing, right? A thing means one of your things in your database. All right. So it could be any of your things. Okay. All right. So we're going to say make changes to a thing, and our thing is going to be our users. All right. So I'm going to say do a search for, and I want to find the user by their ID. Okay. Because the user actually, it's a really long text. The user is never going to know their ID, but that's the only person that I want them to update with. Okay. So here's, we're going to go to user, and I'm going to say add new constraint. And I'm going to say click here, and you see how it says little red type, and I'm going to say unique ID. All right. And I'm going to say equals request data. Okay. So you see how it says this little equal sign? You could also say does not equal. There's a lot of cool little like conditions, right? So a lot of times you could limit things. Let's just say they don't have enough credits, right? If it equals this, or if you don't want it to equal this, okay? So we could say equals, we could say request data, and we're going to say we're going to match up that request data, because that means the request data that we're getting from this API. And we're going to say our user ID, okay? So that looks, here's what this does. It makes the changes and it looks up for a user, and then I'm going to sort by, which it automatically is going to get that, right? So that really doesn't matter what the sort by is, right? And then right here, you see how it says you are trying to change a list of users. You probably want to change the first item of this list. And that's absolutely correct, because as soon as it finds that user ID, it's only going to be one. We want to get that user, and we want to get that and be able to, now we're making changes to just that person. Okay. I hope you guys see that, because this is really powerful to be able to, how do you map your data? Well, this is how you map your data. So now literally I'm searching for that user by that request, that user ID, and I'm only getting that first item. Well, now I could change a field. I could change their name, or I could change their API key. So their API key equals request data, and we're going to say API key. Bam, baby. Super simple. Okay. And now here's what we're going to do. On this, you see how it says click. This just made this update. Now we're literally taking data from the front end, doing the search of what that user data is, and then we're passing it and sending it into here. Okay. So now we go into here and we go into this next part. From here, we're going to say make changes to user. Well, now in the behind the scenes, we don't have to return anything. That's basically all it does. Like, you don't have to return a result. However, we can also return, if we type in return, right? It says return data from API. So if we ever want to send data out from this, we can. Okay. So what does that mean, right? So if I hit add another parameter, I could type in message, right? And then literally I could just type in text, and then I could type in here. We're just going to get some text. It's called arbitrary text. Okay. So now inside this, if we ever want to send a message, I could say, all right. So I could say, Todd is awesome, right? And now the message that this returns from the API is going to return, it's going to send in my API request, and it's going to return Todd is awesome. Okay. Right through this little call. All right. So that's what this is doing. It's saving the API, making the change, finding that user, changing that data, returning a message just because we want to, because it's fun. We don't have to. In the future, if you want, you could have it call. You see, if I go to plugins and I have OpenAI text to speech, well, check this out. I could come in here and I could literally pass in input text from this thing, right? I could pass in the authorization. So I could pass in the user API key. So I could come in here and I could say user API key. And now this literally passes in the API key of the user. And then I could pass in the text if we wanted to. So this right here just turned this little workflow into a speech to text generator, right? Through this whole little thing. And then we could return the file output. Okay. Watch this, right? So let's see if I'll bring this one over. And you can see in the return data, we can return that file from the step one, right? So if I want to put the message, or I'll just close this key, and I could put MP3 type is going to be file, and literally I could pass that file in from OpenAI, and I could put URL, and it passes in that entire file. Like that's the call. So now I literally just API white labeled my own software of a text to speech software with an API right here. Like this inputs the data, this calls, this makes the little like authorization with their API key and passes in the text to speech and then returns that file. All right. So this is that little process. So now let's check if we could actually save this API key. All right. So if I want to go into here and I want to go to view code, in here, I want to see where I can update my user ID. Okay, so generate user ID. Let's see. Let's see where. Give me some notes. Where's those notes? Give me notes so it's easy to switch out the variable of the user ID. All right, give me notes so it's easy to switch out the variable of the user ID, and I can pass it from the front end code. All right, front end code. All right, and watch what we're gonna do. Why are we gonna want to pass it from the front end code? All right, because this, even though I say give it easy, give me notes to make it easy, this might be something that you guys actually use quite often to be able to know how to look at the code. Because like I'm saying, you see how I'm just viewing the code? This is a little bit more advanced than just no code development. We're actually using the code. So having prior coding skills is phenomenal. If you ever like learn how to read over time, now I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, this is just straight up English. You know what I mean? Like it kind of makes sense now, you know, like it's not as scary as it used to be. All right, so this just updated. You see how right here it says script, user ID variable can be played with actual user ID from front end. Thank you. All right, cool. Now I could copy the code, and here's what we could do inside Bubble. I could go into workflow and I could go into our dashboard. Check this out, baby. We go in our dashboard. This is our HTML code that we have, and I'm gonna clear all that we made on the other day, and where I'm gonna paste. And now check this out. I don't want the user to know their API key. I just want the user to save their API key, okay? So I'm going to scroll up into that text wherever I find that code, okay? Wherever it says pass in the user ID, all right? And I'm going to find that information. And you see right here where it says, here's our comment, which is these two little slashes. It says user ID variable to be replaced with actual user ID from the front end. Thank you. And then it says replace with actual user ID. So I'm going to highlight this right here. Highlights. Bam. And you see right here where it says insert dynamic data. This part is so incredibly powerful inside the software, inside Bubble. So I'm going to insert dynamic data. And now you see how it says I could reference our database now. I could get anything. I could do a search for just like I did a few seconds ago, or I could get the current user, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get current user, and I'm going to scroll down, and you see how it says unique ID? Bam. That's it, baby. All right. Now I'm going to go here to preview. Inside here, this handles our little thing. You can see it says hello, Jeff. So it's still referencing our name. And I'm going to grab our little test key that we have, and I'm going to paste this. And I'm going to hit save. All right, so you see how we have this error. No worries. I'm not going to panic. Oh, God. All right, here's what it happens. remember how we set up this call inside the backend workflow? And it said detect data, and we have this initialize at the bottom, right? This little slash initialize, okay? The slash initialize makes it where it actually calls to just the initialize link, okay? Well, the initialize is only valid when you actually initialize it in Bubble, okay? After that, you need to take off the slash initialize, okay? So what I'm gonna do, I could just copy this, and if you just copy it, or you could edit this directly in the code, okay? So if I go into the code, let's see, where is it, right? You see how in here it has a little code and it says slash initialize? Well, I'm gonna update it inside my code, inside my AI team. I'm gonna hit save just so I have that updated. And also, I already know, let's go. I already know inside here. All right, so basically I just updated that code. I'm gonna view code. I'm gonna copy code again. Go back to my dashboard page. And same thing, right? So the way I update, now you right click and you clear all and you paste and you do the exact same thing, right? Anything that you have that was a dynamic data, you make sure to map that again, okay? So whenever I update my client software and I do builds, all I'm doing is updating it my AI team, coming back here and remapping any of data that I passed to the front end, okay? So current user, and then I'm gonna pass in that unique ID for that current user, okay? And now if I hit preview, I'm gonna update API key, and now you can see I can grab this again, test key, paste, API key success and failed. Why? Hey, but look, is it working though? All right, it worked, but it failed. Okay, we're getting there. Let's check our database. Did we update it? Okay, I successfully updated it into the database, but it said failed. All right, interesting. Okay, so it worked, yet it failed. All right, well, welcome to software development.
Your copy fields, so sometimes could it be too long? Did maybe you copy something that shouldn't be there?
I mean, it updated. It said print hello, right? So, I mean, it worked and it updated the code, and now we're working with this. Okay, so, oh yeah, you made me a drink. My way made me a smoothie. How exciting! Protein shake. All right. Oh, that's delicious. Okay, so it worked and it updated, and we have our code, and it saved to our database. Why did it give our error? Great question, right? Like I said, sometimes in development, you get errors and you're not sure, and you have to kind of work through it. Okay, so I'm sure as you guys go through the same process and you connect it, you might get different errors than I do. Okay, so part of development, part of software development, it's crazy. So like a few weeks ago, Isaac messaged me and he said, "Hey man, I need help with this error I'm getting." And I was like, "Man, tell you the truth, I actually have no clue how to fix that." Believe it or not, I would ask the AI, but other than that, asking the AI, Isaac, do you remember what I said to you? If you're on there,
Yeah,
right?
take a nap.
Take a nap, bro.
Yeah.
Take a nap. All right. Sometimes if you're having a lot of issues and errors, just take a nap. And literally when you wake up, sometimes like it's crazy is Isaac messaged me the next day and he's like, "Bro, I woke up and I tried something and I fixed it and it worked." Like that's all you need to do sometimes. It's just take a nap. All right? Because like it's crazy. As I do coding, sometimes I sleep and I build and I develop in my dreams. And then I wake up and I'm super motivated. I'm like, man, I got no sleep, but I was working all night. Okay, so a lot of times you get a new bug and you're like, woohoo, a new error. Okay, so learn to enjoy the process of getting new errors and then working and going to sleep and then seeing, wow, I got something different. I got a new error. I worked on it. I fixed it. I took a nap and I woke up and I tried what I was thinking about when I was sleeping. All right, so Development as you build your software journey is very, very, very fun. Okay. And it also can be stressful. However, the stressful part, you just sometimes need to take a nap. And I love naps. So don't think of it as a negative thing. All right. Any questions on today's class of learning APIs at all whatsoever? Did this help you guys connect and figure out how the behind the scenes work of how APIs talk to each other, maybe how to send data into Bubble, how to pass data to your front end? So now you guys can see I'm passing information into my front end on my HTML page. Next week on Tuesday, what we're going to do is we're going to create a multi-page software, because you might make it where you want to talk to people, but you also might make it where you want to have another blog writer inside the same page of your software. All right. So now you can have multiple different pages, but inside my AI team, you don't want to be limited by code, right? Austin said one of his pages, his code is at 1,000 lengths of code. Well, 1,000 limits of code. Well, that's like, because our AI dealer, right? That's all they give it to us, right? They only give us about 1,000 like lines of code, and then it starts cutting off. Later on in the future, maybe it's more. However, that's our limitation. So the way you get around that is inside Bubble, we could add you see how I added that HTML? You could basically isolate those HTML pages inside Bubble. And now they're not going to interact with each other. And all of a sudden, you're going to be able to flip between pages, right? So I'm going to share my screen again, right? Inside my AI team, if you guys, oh, it says present. I can't present. All right. All right. Well, maybe this. All right. So inside my AI team, if you guys want to see what I'm talking about, inside my AI team, you have the ability to click on this little dashboard, right? We have dashboard, and I changed to dashboard, right? You see we're on the dashboard now, and I click on the chat. Oh, look, now we have chat. Woohoo! Right? Well, that gives multi-functionality. Well, look, I could also click on images. Now we have images. So your software, last chance. You guys check out this. I was building sales funnels, and inside here, I was like, make me an internet marketing sign that says last chance, because that's the upsell. This is the last chance you're going to get this deal, baby. All right. So this is where my AI team can be used for a lot of stuff. I just want to let you guys know that music visualizer thing. I started running ads for it, right? On Google Ads. I see in Google Ads analytics, it's 13 cents a click for music visualizer. 13 cents. That means for 100 visitors, that's $13. Can I make a sale, one single sale in 100 visitors in my math equation? If so, that's $7. But remember, the math equation of the internet is making upsells and downsells. So that's where this last chance comes in, so they could buy the other products. You guys see on this call, I just upgraded to their software. I just paid them a monthly subscription. They got me. Study marketing as you're building software at the same time, because it goes hand in hand. If you're a marketer and you apply it to software, whoo, oh man, that's the holy grail, right? So don't take off your marketing hat while you're building software. At the same time, tell people that you're marketing and you just created it. Do you guys know how exciting it is to say, I just connected my first API endpoint? Tell the world. Let your grandma figure out what the heck you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about it, because guess what? Somebody that knows what you're talking about. The reason I hired my friend Callan, I hired him he's like my software developer, right? The reason I even hired him in the beginning is because I saw he was using Bubble and he connected API endpoints. And all of a sudden I was like, oh man, he knows Bubble. He's the only one of my friends that knows freaking Bubble and what an API endpoint even is. Here's $3,000 a month, bro. Help me. He just started, but he was the only one that was willing and seen and actively doing the work. And I was willing to hire him because guess what? I just need sometimes trench diggers. Sometimes you just need someone that says, I'm willing to click the button, because you guys saw how I just went through a couple errors and do all that. Well, guys, we've been on here for an hour and 14 minutes and I set up one API endpoint. Oh,
I have one question when you get set.
what you got?
You were kind of on a roll, and that's why I didn't ask, and I probably should have asked when you were going through it. But I might as well ask now. It was on Bubble. It's the back end when you're creating the back end flow, and it said to reference the user ID.
Mhm.
and then bring the API key. That was, and did I see that right? What information does it pull from the user ID? So that would be from my AI team, right? So if you're logged into my AI team, it references your user ID in my AI team, and then bridges that through the API key. But does it pull all the information from the user on my AI team, or can you select what you want it to pull? Because it was sorting by, was that first name, or is it first name, email, is it phone number? Because if it was, so I'm kind of wanting to, I guess my curious as to, if somebody has the same name, but that wouldn't, the user ID would be the login, right? That it's referencing.
Yeah, that's a unique user ID in the database. So now if I
Right.
click on this right here into my right here, well, if I go into reference this, you see how it says unique ID right here?
Right.
That's my unique ID that bubble references. So this is essentially what I'm searching up and passing. I could even search up by email, right? So sometimes when you need to do payments and stuff, like you search up if you create an account for a user, you create a new account by email, or you could search up by email.
And
Totally
that would be a different call. Is that
that would be a
right?
different call. Yep.
Okay.
That you would just set up to do that search. Absolutely.
Okay.
So basically, whenever we're in our backend, if I go into our backend workflows,
Yeah, it's a call for each data point that you want it to reference or confirm.
yeah, totally. Now, here's that thing. Like, let's just say, like, inside here, somebody asked if we get the replays. We're definitely going to have the replays for you guys in this too, and you'll have it on there for Tuesday. So inside here, we could do it where you could create a new thing. You could also make changes. Well, you could make changes multiple different things, right? So we might make changes, and we also might later on have credits, right? So now we could say current user because we already grabbed the current user right there, right? Or we could say, we could reference that user, right? So this says result from step 1. We don't have to do a search. We could reference that user again, right? So that's result from step 1. It already did the search right here. And now I can make changes. Well, now here's the thing. Imagine if we had a credit system. Well, I could create new field, and I could say create new field. I could say credits, and I could say field type number. And now I could hit credit. And now we could say this user credits -1. Nailed it. And now I just subtracted a credit from that user. And here's the thing. Check out this. If I'm over here, you have it says make changes to user. Well, what I could do is I could make changes to user, and I could say only. You could do conditional statements. So you see where it says only when right here, or inside this little workflow here, I could choose when to run this workflow. So if we ever want to like determine if they have enough credits, I could say only when, and I could say scroll down, and I could do a search for. So I could do a search for that current user. Okay, this is kind of a big tab, right? Do a search for. And I could look up that current user again before I ever make changes to their account. Okay, so now we want to check to see if they have enough credits. So let me search up that user by unique ID, map it to that request data, and it says user ID. Okay, and then on this, I could say do a search for, and then I could grab it where it's the first item. Okay, and now I could say credits is not 0. So as long as they don't have 0 credits, this could run. Okay.
Okay, I think that might have been what spurred the question initially, was the first item thing. So then you could have a second item thing as well that it references, or why does it say first item?
Yeah, so think about what it's doing. Right now it's searching up for this user ID.
Right.
And it's going to get that user ID. However, we know that because it's a unique ID, in this case, it's only actually going to return 1 item.
Right.
Now, here's what we could do. Imagine this. Imagine if I was to send something in and I wanted to get back all the users. Okay. Like, imagine if I'm an admin and I could come in here and I could say, create new workflow. And I could say, get all users. Okay. And this is a workflow that I would set up. Well, now if I come in here, I could do return data, right? Return data from a workflow. And I could say add parameters, and I could say users. And now I could say type data is user, and I could say a list. And now I'm returning an entire list of things. And now watch, I could go in here and I could say do a search for, and I could say user, and I could sort that list by anything, right? So I could say when they were created, right? And I'm just going to say yes. All right. And I'm going to say when they were created, and you can see right here, it returns an entire list of users. So
Yep.
now if I was to call this data point, this database, or this little thing, so watch this. If I go to detect data, we're just going to say detect data, and I'm going to call this. All right, inside my AI team, inside AI snippets, I'm going to turn on one of these for you guys for public, okay? So inside folder, let's see, it's called Dev Tools. You guys probably won't see it, but it's called a webhook tester. I'm going to turn it on public, okay? So it's public.
That'll be frozen.
They'll be putting this up for replay.
Yeah, he said he would. And he said by Tuesday, so maybe in 1 week, or is it Tuesday? It's Thursday.
But information, so yeah, definitely go over it again. Thanks.
I put
Indeed,
the
yes.
YouTube channel right there in the chat. Yesterday. So, request it.
Good rock, Isaac. Thank you. And yeah, I will get this also up today. I will get this replay up also. So mainly I realize you guys are going through this. I don't want to stop the momentum. So as soon as it's done, I upload this thing. You know what I mean? Like, because I realize, like, dude, stopping momentum sucks, right? Like, I don't want to be that guy.
It's not
Right?
good.
So I'm gonna share. And inside here, I turn this one public, and right this time, picture. All right, cool. So we turn this public, but this is an API. This is one of the little dev tools I had this thing code, right? It's a webhook tester. All right, and it gives us the ability. There's another site, it's called Postman. All right, but this gives us the ability to basically see what's happening with webhooks. All right, so I'm going to hit detect data, and I'm going to detect this data, and I'm going to paste in my URL here. All right, so let me paste in this URL here, and I'm just going to hit send webhook. Well, check this out. This says webhook initialized successful. Well, if I go into this, you must modify data. All right, cool. And I'm going to hit save. It basically just got that request, and it returns the data. All right, so now it searches the users and it returns the data. I'm going to make sure these are unchecked just for now. All right, and let's try this again because we want this to actually run. All right, so I'm going to send webhook. And if you look at this, we have this call. Okay, so you can see it called. Show data, nailed it, save. And I actually, now that we initialized it, I actually want to remove the initialize, and I'm going to send request again. Well, look what happens. This literally requested it. It sent that data to get all the users to this API endpoint. And then this is the response body. You can see right here, I literally just requested and got all my users back from that API endpoint. Now here's Austin. Thanks for signing up, Austin. You can see I have me as a test data, and then I have my other user account. Okay. And then I even returned the API key also, which into the database. However, if you don't want them to return the API key, you could choose what data you send. Okay. So you could like remove data from each one. Okay. You can see I could say data fields, and I could choose what data fields I pass in. Okay, so I could say each item's name, each item's email, or each item's credits, and I could just pass in that information through this. Okay, so you can do a lot with these API endpoints. You also don't want to, like, you see how there's authentication and all this stuff? I'm going to link inside the replay of this. I'm going to link the authentication documents in Bubble. So if you guys ever do want to go through that, how to authenticate with stuff, you guys can. Okay, so any questions on setting up these API endpoints inside Bubble?
What is the purpose of authentication?
Yeah, great question. So you see how I just returned all the data and it returned all of my user information? Well, that's like an open call. Well, like anyone could do that. If you call this right now, if you guys grab this URL and you call this API endpoint, you guys could return all this data without having to be authenticated.
Reminds me with the authentication of the Web3 apps where you have to authenticate your crypto wallet.
So it's basically a password, actually.
Nailed
A
it.
digital password that authenticates who hook.
Correct. And it authenticates
Gotcha.
behind the scenes, right? So that's the
On the
authentic-
back end.
on the back end, 100%, right? So whenever you do, now here's the cool thing. If we wanted to do authentication in Bubble, right? Watch this. This is really fun. We could go to click here to do a new workend flow, and we could go to new API end workflow, and we could say sign up. And what this could do is if we have a sign up, sign the user up, and if we actually have the name and email, right? So if we have it where, right, we're going to have it where we actually create name, and then we're going to have email as our parameters, right? So you can manually set these parameters also. And I'm going to say password because we want to pass in that data, and then we want to be able to reference that, okay? So remember how I did that detect data? You could also manually set those up. So now you know that they must pass those things in, but now I could reference it. So now I could say, here's the email. And then I'm passing in that user email, and I could also say password. All right, and I could change another field and I could add their name because we want their name on sign up, okay? And now I could say name. All right, well, here's what's cool is if we say return data, right? Return data from API, well, now we have key off. And if we go to text, we'll check this out. This is actually, right now, as long as we have this, we actually don't need to set up this return data. As long as we have a sign up request, just this basic sign up request, from the API thing right here, it's actually going to automatically return authentication for our user, okay? So basically now we're gonna have an authentication key when we sign the user up. All right, so if I go to right here, let's see, I'm gonna say detect data. Let me see, I'm gonna say detect data. I'm gonna show you guys how this works real fast. And I go into basically our call. Boom, and we have initialize. I'm going to remove the initialize because I'm just going to pass in the parameters because I know what the parameters that we just set up, right? So I set up all these lowercase, password, name, Jeff at myaiteam2.com. That doesn't really exist. Password, that. And then I know that's going to get the data. We just want to see if it's actually going to get our authentication token back from this. All right. Must be authenticated to do this method. All right. We want to run with authentication. All right. And send webhook. Let's try it again. Boom. Okay. So you can see right here how this returned a response. This returned a response, which is a token, and our user ID right here. So if you guys are setting this up just now, if I go in my database, data, and I go into app data, I literally just created that user right there. Right now we have Jeff at myaiteam2.com. Well, this created a user just from that API endpoint just now from there. And it returned, if you guys see, we caught that little response right here. It returned the authentication token. Well, why is that important? Because in the future, if you ever want to make calls to your backend, I highly recommend this. If it's something that needs to be secured, when you have this, the call needs to have, you see how it says this can be run without authentication? You never want that to be true if they actually have, like, if you're getting user data. All right, you don't want that. You want to make sure the user is passing in that authentication token. Okay, and then just like I showed you guys how to code with AI, and you guys literally in the future, you like here's watch how I code with AI. Right, I'm gonna copy this. You see how it says create speech? Watch this. I'm gonna go into this, and this is our where's our little right? Hello, can I talk to this? Cool. Watch. All right, so basically I'm going to update this, and I'm going to say update this software so I can read the response that the AI sends also in a voice message. All right, and I'm going to paste my entire output, okay, from here. So one, you could come into Bubble and you could set up the plugins. You could do the APIs in through Bubble. However, I much prefer coding with AI and having AI set up the calls, and then I pass in the user data from the backend if I need to. Right? I have the user pass in the API and it passes in through that, because I don't mind if the user sees their own API call, or their own API key. If I need to use my own API key, I'm literally calling the backend and I'm making my own API call, and I'm having it set up and it calls this. Okay, it calls my API key and I don't pass in the user. All right, so now we can update our key. Let me see, grab our test key, update key. Hopefully it'll reference that. Let's see, hello. Boom, what's up? Print hello. Print hello, baby. All right, that's so cool. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing and share just that one call. All right, so in a few seconds, right, it says print hello, right? Let's say print hello, say Isaac is awesome. Boom, okay? You see print Isaac awesome.
Print Isaac is awesome.
Let's go.
I am.
All right, cool. All right, so we instantly have a way to communicate with this. All right, like if we wanted to add another API to this, right? This is our transcription. Check out this. What does transcription take in? Transcription takes in audio now. Can we talk to this in seconds? You know what I mean? Let's check. I'm going to copy this API documentation. Okay. Now that we got that little thing, look, we can even translate this baby. All right. We're going to copy it. And we're going to copy this. And now we're going to go back into this. Oh, you guys didn't see me. Copy this. All right. Look, I went to the API documentation inside OpenAI. All right. This says create transcription. Now we have talk. Okay. So we have voice, so it could talk back to us. We have text, so we could text to it. But now I want to talk to it so I could tell it to write my script. Okay, so I'm going to copy the transcription, and it returns. Okay, we want to make sure we get all this API documentation, right? Don't leave anything out. All right, returns it here, copies this. Same thing, pop back over into AI, and we're going to say update the software so the user can also press the mic and speak to the AI and it
Have it speak on.
stuff, bro. All right. All right, cool. So now it's going to update. This is a voice-to-text Python coder. I mean, it's pretty helpful. We can deploy this, and I mean, there's a couple things I could actually think of using this. Make a Roblox coder. There's a ton of stuff, man. Like just this alone so far. And imagine you come on here, your kid, and you're like, "Make me a game." You know what I mean? Like they don't know how to type yet, and they can just talk to this thing.
That's what my kids like doing. I mean, my son knows how to type and spell now, but he prefers doing the voice.
Yeah, me too, because I spell things wrong all the time.
We know that. But yeah, I mean, I love the like kind of like journaling, you know, you can just talk to it and it could just journal for you by your voice. I think he froze again. We lost Jeff. The AI ate him.
Third time's a charm, baby. All right.
The AI ate you.
Yeah, Amy. All right. So we are back. Oh, what? Do we have record? Oh, okay. All right. So, cool. You guys can see my screen? Hello. Coding assistant. All right. Cool. Record. Hello. Can you hear me? My name is Jeff. Code me up a cool code. Please work. Oh, what? Can you hear me? My name is Jeff. Code me up a cool code. Oh, come on.
exactly.
No way it worked.
That's
That
awesome.
was- that is 10 times better than the one my AI team has. Come on.
I know.
Like,
Time for
this is
some upgrades,
embarrassing.
Jeff. Time for some upgrades.
This is so embarrassing. How did it code so fast?
And
This
while
is-
you're at it, in your chat part, like put a little like button that I could click copy on in the chat when you're upgrading my AI team. Thanks.
Oh god, make it so the user can click copy with a clean icon. Please. Nice. All right, this thing is awesome. What? All right, can you make it where it codes the script up, but it also like spits out some Spanish, maybe like 10 different Spanish things? Like, I just want to know what? How fast is that?
Wow,
That
that's
is crazy fast.
That is crazy fast.
How?
Bro, you got to put that in my AI team.
This is what I'm
Straight up.
saying. You need to upgrade yours and then put the little like copy button that is in the chat because I really
Dude,
need
hey,
that.
a really cool idea is if we're all able to like code stuff and then submit it to you to help you build it. I'd be down to do that.
That'd be super fun. Yeah, that'd be a freaking awesome, man. Yeah, that'd be legend. And you could say, "Hey, Jeff, I made you this code. Run it, baby, as an API." I'm like,
Yeah.
"I got you."
Oh, dude, I already have ideas for stuff I'm gonna make you.
Sick. That's
Awesome. All right, so this just updated. Show me what you got. Really impress me. I'm trying to show off to my friends. Oh, it's so lightning fast.
wow. It's so fast.
Oh man, this is cool.
That is crazy.
That is gold.
Man, we could do so much with this. Show me what you got. Really impress me. Look how long it's thinking. It's like, I'm gonna impress you, baby. I got you, baby bird. Oh, look, it created a website scraper. Oh, that is
And I think,
so...
is that the little copy button? in the
Yep, you
top?
got the copy button in there
Got a
too.
copy button, baby.
Yes. Yes. Add that to
Let's
my AI
go.
team, please. Thank you.
Add that.
Crazy.
This is awesome.
So good.
Oh, this is cool.
You're such a legend, dude.
So
Dude.
what's the code? That you see what?
Yeah, this
Like-
this is so cool. All right, I'm gonna plop it in the chat with the copy button. It worked.
See what it gives us.
Yeah, put it into the sandbox and see what it does.
Oh
Yeah,
that's
let's
so
see
cool.
what this code is.
Okay, so I do hope you guys hope so. When you guys know the code that my AI team reads is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Python code is a server-based code. So
Can't you paste it in Bubble?
okay, so do you guys want to see how to deploy server-based codes on the next call and then connect it to APIs or what?
I don't know. Is that useful? I mean, yeah, it looks.
Yeah,
like we
that
got-
sounds pretty.
Because some of
That
the
sounds
software
epic.
I need to
Yeah, it sounds
some of
good.
the software I need to build, I have to do that, and I was like, ugh, I haven't. I had to get I have to put a shell up. Like my hosting has like a shell account, so I haven't used a shell in a long time. But That's what I have to freaking do because I have to install Python and then I got to install something on top of Python. And I'm just like, holy crap.
Okay. How exciting. Okay, so here's what's really interesting. All right. Troy just asked, is that useful? There's a website that I own. It's a software that I own. It's called websitescraperapi.com. All right. Websitescraperapi.com is Bubble calling a API, but the API is my Python scripts. And look, I'm going to scroll down, right? Believe it or not, this code was entirely written by AI. And I now sell this code as a subscription. Okay. And all this code is doing is running on my server and I sell it. Right. The other day I got tagged on a social media post, right? Somebody said, I think Austin tagged a couple, like, thank you, Austin. Somebody said, hey, I need to scrape the FTC website. FTC is like who makes the laws for like what you could promote online and stuff, right? And like crypto and all that stuff. They need to be able to scrape that data and then rewrite it with AI and then send it in an email every day. I mean, that's something I do every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, come on. You guys saw it.
So yeah, maybe I said it wrong, but it's just quick. Is that useful? Of course, I know it's useful, but I guess how it's useful. So you basically what you're saying is that Python script is used. So we would build on my AI team and Bubble a software, but we would use Python to store it on our server so that we could sell it on through our own ecosystem, so to speak.
Nailed it. This code, what I'm selling technically is I'm selling that running. It runs in a black box. You guys see how this super awesome code just spit out this Python script? I love that it said, sure, here's a website scraper. That's what I'm selling. I'm selling a website scraper and it just spit it out to try to impress us. That's exactly like, there's so many people that just need data from a website. That's it. I need to crawl and get all the links from a website and return the data. That's it.
What other things is Python popularly used for?
Oh man, you can make videos with Python. You can make images and videos and movies.
Okay.
I mean, there's so much you can do with Python. I mean,
you can code almost anything with Python.
Yeah, it's like, what could you do with a paintbrush? You know, it's like, I could make anything. You know, like I could paint anything, right? Like,
I guess the question came from because you said my AI team is HTML and Java and such.
Okay, that's a great
question. Why is Python not in there?
Okay, the reason why you need Python is because it actually runs on a server.
Okay.
Okay, so what that is actually doing is the data, it actually requires like compute time, like actual it has to run, like something actually, a computer is actually running, right? When this script is running, it actually is like booting up a computer and it has to do it behind the scenes, okay? Right. So when we think of servers, think of behind the scenes. You know how like we do a call and we called the AI on the front end? Sometimes when you make a call on the front end, you're passing in that data. Right. Some people can see that data. Well, if you want to hide that data, you need to run on the back end. But also, if you have something that requires like a lot of compute power, Python is what that does. And that needs it to run on actual CPU and actual computers. Okay. So it is a little bit different. Imagine if you were merging a whole bunch of videos together. Well, that you know, it has a loading time. Well, that just takes time. Well, that's where you need Python. Like those are some behind the scenes stuff. You could use Python.
So Python could be used on a website, but there's no reason for it. Its specialty is the processing and the back end and the bridging.
Nailed it.
Okay.
Every coding language, in a sense, kind of has its own specialty.
Yeah.
HTML and JavaScript and CSS. Well, CSS is the language of making your website look beautiful, right? That's all like how you see how like there's green right here. That's the CSS. You see how there's yellow on that button? That's CSS. All the structure is all HTML and JavaScript or HTML. All the actual like functionality is JavaScript. Behind the scenes, you could run JavaScript also, right? So JavaScript is a very unique thing that can be functions, and it could be like Python. However, there's some that just require servers. So yeah. So it's just kind of going a little bit more in depth. However, you could do a lot more with behind the scenes and servers. So yeah.
Cool.
Yep. So we'll be diving into that next week.
When I was researching how to make my own like website scraper, it was like walking me through and telling me to like set up Python and a server and all this stuff. So where Jeff built his with like Bubble, right, Jeff?
Yes. So I built it with Bubble, but I'm more selling it with Bubble. You see how I set up the API in the back end? And you see how it tracks the credits? Well, when you call that API, I subtract a credit. But I'm really calling my Python scripts, and then I'm subtracting a credit from your Bubble account. So I'm using Bubble as the user interface management. Python is the code that I'm selling in the API calls. And then Bubble tracks my user management, my logins, my signups, everything.
Yeah.
And then I sell it with Stripe, or I sell it with Firebase. Okay.
And that's what the AI is referring to when it tells you to use Amazon Web Service or something like some sort of server, Node.js, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, gotcha.
So next week, here's what we're gonna do. Next week is, just so you guys are prepared. Okay, we're gonna have a domain. Okay, so you need a domain to set stuff up on, and then when you buy a domain, I use a website called Namecheap.com. Okay. Namecheap.com. All right. If we go to domains and we buy a domain, as you're buying a domain, you're able to get hosting. All right. You want the cheapest hosting possible. All right. If I go to shared hosting for a whole entire year, look, it's $1.48 for a month. Right. You just need the basic one, the cheapest one. Okay. It's $17 for an entire year. Okay. So if you want to pay monthly, you can. It's $5 a month. Okay. So whenever you buy a domain, you're going to want the stellar hosting also. What is that hosting going to do? It's going to give us the ability to have a cPanel. That cPanel gives us the ability to upload files to the site. Okay. Now we're actually going to be taking that code, the website scraper API code, and I'm going to be giving you guys the same code that I sell actively right this very second. I'm going to be giving you guys those codes so you guys can set it up on your server, and if you so want, sell it. Okay. You have to build the dashboard and you have to build all that, but I'm going to give you the ability to see and sell an API. Okay. This code alone, I've already sold for $500. Literally, somebody bought it, and then I sent them the files. That's it. On Monday, I'm going to give you guys them for free, and then I'm going to walk you guys through on Tuesday, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how to set up that entire API. So you guys can use that API in your own software, or you guys can connect it into Bubble, and then you guys could sell it as your own. Okay?
Perfect. That sounds good.
Right?
You're
And literally,
legends.
I just had the guy, he wanted me to scrape the FTC website. That guy wants that software to work every single day for the rest of his business. That guy's done multi-million-dollar sales from stages. That guy has enough money to pay for a developer. The website scraper could do everything that he needs, and I could get it set up in less than a week if I focus on it. I'm just going to do it for free because I know the guy's audience is huge. I know that me showing up and being like, dude, you built this whole thing for free and it works and it sends me an email every day and it just uses my API credits. Yeah, sure. No problem.
Network is net worth.
Yep. And so yeah, sure. Like, I can't wait until he shouts it out. Hey man, Jeff made this for free, and it just sends an email. Anyone want to be CC'd on it? Literally, I'll CC you on the freaking email. It costs me nothing more. Like, come on. So definitely very powerful stuff what you can do with software. I can't wait to see what you guys do. I'm going to wrap up this replay, and then I will get it. Any final questions before we end call today?
You should probably ghost out your API keys when you put up the YouTube. I imagine you do, right?
Nailed it. Yeah. I also just use a test API key on here and just switch it out for these projects because
perfect.
Yeah, I definitely don't want my key.
You move fast. So I just wanted to make sure you weren't reviewing.
You rock, man. Thank you for looking out for me.
One thing that I do, Jeff, that you might think is you've been wanting to build a directory. Build a directory of scrapers.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. That'd be really cool. I mean, it's pretty powerful what you can do with scrapers. I mean, a lot of data happens, and I like scraping because it's like you get that data for free. And I mean, now here's the cool thing. Once you figure out APIs, That's the real power of scraping. Because other people, you see how we could detect those, we could see those API endpoints. You could also detect API endpoints on other people's websites. And those API endpoints actually send the data. So imagine Zillow has a database and you're able to connect to the same database as Zillow because they expose their API endpoint. It's wild. So you just have to know how to connect into those things. And I mean, like, when you start to do that, everyone's data, even Amazon's data, becomes public data for you. And then you could sell that and leverage it because public data it's publicly available.
You're literally blowing my mind right now, dude. Like, you're sending me down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Software
So
development.
we could literally mimic Airbnb, Zillow, whatever, because we have access to all the same databases. That is fucking crazy. What?
So right now, I just want to let you know, right now I'm building a Google Chrome plugin that I'm having the AI help me code.
Dude.
And it detects API requests so I can test them to see which ones give me the data.
Nice.
Just for this reason.
That's super cool.
Yep.
What?
Because I
Yeah.
want to
Do a demo of that once you get it ready.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that gonna be the following class?
yeah. So
Cool,
yeah.
Jeff.
Cool. Well,
You're
you
such
guys
a
rock.
legend, dude.
Thanks for showing up, man. This is the biggest class I've had, and so you guys rock, man. So
We'll
I
only
appreciate
grow
you.
from here.
Cool.
All right.
Love you guys. Talk soon.
Bye.
Yeah, have a great weekend. See ya.
Much love.